Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Well, let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Stephen Carroll with Lizzie Burden, and we're joined by Bloomberg's breaking news editor Louise Moon for more. Louise, starting first of all with Novo Nordisk, cutting its fourth quarter forecast after lagging sales in those blockbuster weight loss drugs. Tell us more.
Indeed, yeah. Shares are kind of fluctuating this morning.
You might say.
Indeed, yo-yoing this morning. They trimmed their forecast, as you say. That's for the fourth time this year, and that came alongside quite disappointing third quarter earnings. So if you take a look at profit, that fell short of estimates. Sales were also lower. The growth was the slowest since the first quarter of 2021. And this is all on the back of what's been an ongoing lagging sales in their obesity drugs, their blockbuster drugs. They're also grappling with increased competition, slower market expansion, and the new CEO is really trying to be aggressive to combat all of that. So, he's laying off a chunk of staff, and he is trying still to win a obesity startup that's kind of competing with Pfizer to do that. So a lot of challenges that Novo is facing. Their stock has already lost about half of its value so far this year, and a lot of that is, as I say, on those competition concerns. Analysts are noting, though, that some of the commentary around pricing of drugs in the US was better than expected, and that is kind of explaining that fluctuation in share prices despite that trimming of forecasts and those disappointing earnings. There is that bit of light of positivity, so shares seesawing, yo-yoing on the back of that.
So from those moves on Novo Nordisk, we turn to Orsted in Copenhagen. Shares up 2.5%, Louise.
Indeed, yeah. They've confirmed their full-year profit guidance, essentially trying to reassure investors. So they'd slashed their annual guidance in September, and they also had quite a weak third quarter today. So, for example, they took a chunky net charge linked to US tariffs. That was about $277 million US dollars. And they've also, there's been reports that we've spoken about before of halting a project off and near Rhode Island. And they're trying to deliver quite a turnaround, essentially. So they're saying that their portfolio of projects is progressing on schedule as part of that kind of reassurance today. And the CEO is really trying to signal a return to normality despite a lot of their ambitions in the US hitting some hurdles, hitting some roadblocks. There was an interesting quote from one of our analysts saying that although today's results were weak, the numbers will kind of be of less interest to investors, and the broader context and regulatory developments in the US is a bit more of a driver of their share price at the moment. So trying to reassure, had a weak third quarter, but trying to signal that return to normality and that focus on their portfolio.
Okay, so that's Orsted. Their shares slightly higher this morning. Let's turn then to Marks & Spencer's in the UK, reporting adjusted pre-tax profits for the first half of the year that beat estimates. What's going on?
Indeed. So it's quite an interesting picture when you look at it. So they beat estimates, but these profits did still post a huge drop in the first quarter. They had a really tough first quarter, all to do with a cyber attack in April, which affected their online sales for about 4 months, and it's really hit them. So a tough first quarter, but as you say, did slightly beat estimates. People expected it to be worse. And then now it was a really positive, upbeat commentary from their CEO this morning saying, there's a lot more to be done, but food's outperforming. Fashion, home and beauty is slightly lagging, but getting there. It's progressing after the cyber attack. And looking forward, they expect second half profits to rebound, so be at least in line with last year. So as I say, quite upbeat from him. He described the first half as an extraordinary moment in time. The cyber attack came at quite a bad time. He was starting to deliver on his turnaround. But signalling that going forward, they've kind of got over the worst of it, and they'll be delivering further on their turnaround and seem to be progressing ahead of that.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.